Okay, we're doing test number 3, the review. We learned something from test number 1 review and test number 2. You can tell we did this all on the same day. I'm wearing the same shirt. Okay, but we learned something from the last 2 that we just did. There's some things we don't have the web that we need to get on there. And some of the questions are repetitive, which are okay because they're really important questions. Number 1 we've covered, that's that issue of, is it important to create utility for your customer? The 4 Ps, how many of you know the 4 Ps? Product, place, price, promotion, right? SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. Okay, so I'm a big fan of Peter Block's stewardship. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? Service over self-interest. I would make the argument to you that by focusing on service first to your customer, aka the student, right, you will then, that's in your best interest because they will keep coming back to take your classes, they'll give you good reviews. Okay. All right. So this is kind of a logistics question. So back a decade ago, the Panama Canal decided that they were going to make, because the container ships coming from the Far East to the United States and to the East Coast of the United States were getting bigger and bigger, and they couldn't transit this Panama Canal. And so what would happen was they would come here to the West Coast, the containers would be taken off, they'd be put on a train and run east to the south, the southeast, and the Midwest, and the New York metropolitan area. Okay, so they decided, well, geez, we're going to expand the Panama Canal to allow for bigger ships. But by the time they got done expanding the Panama Canal, the ships got even bigger. So now there's even bigger ships that can't transit the Panama Canal. The question is, did it impact the Port of Long Beach? Well, it can impact the Port of Long Beach, but the factor, and you're probably not going to hear this many places, the factor that impacts that the most is the rail pricing from LA to Chicago and the East Coast and into the South. Because it's that rail pricing that you add to the difference in the ocean freight rate from the Far East to California, plus the rail portion of it to get it to the East Coast, which, by the way, is faster than going through the Panama Canal. And so if you match those pricing and at the ocean rate going from Asia through the Panama Canal, because you have all those extra miles you have to go, right? If you have that all water to the East Coast ocean rate and you add up the rail portion and the West Coast ocean rate, and they're the same, people are going to go to the West Coast because it's faster. Okay, this is a good one. This is straight from me. One of the first things I say in every class, there's no excuse for not getting a world-class education in California. None, zero. Right? You're in high school, you can take community college courses, which are basically free in most cases. You can get a free community college education. You can take 2 years, you get your first 2 years of college done. You do 2 years of the Cal State system, right? Then you go do your graduate work if you want to go to graduate, the UC system. It's a world-class education for a very low cost. No excuse. It's difficult to outsource logistics jobs. Think about this, right? You have to physically pick up boxes, put them down. Think of the UPS driver, right? How are you going to outsource that job? Right? The Amazon guy dropping off to your house. How are you going to outsource that job? Ah, we're going to get drones. Really? How's a drone going to get to the front of my office here, which is on the 2nd floor? How's a drone going to get to my house, which has bushes and trees all over the place, right? Yeah, in some rural areas, that's going to work, and that makes sense. But in the major metropolitan areas, probably not. Okay, number 2, 8, 9 are both on my CV. You might want to read it. Supply chain. Let me explain what supply chain is. Okay, so in every organization, you have different organizational structures, right? Now, the one that I focus on the most is the marketing organization, because that's where the revenue comes from, and without revenue, you really don't have a business. So finance, administration, that's all, accounting, that's all secondary. That comes after you actually have a business. So marketing starts with understanding what the customer wants. I'll give you a great example, right? So this is an online course versus my face-to-face course, right? The supply chain part of that is you're choosing not to go to the retail location, aka my classroom, and you're choosing to do this online. We have to adapt to that. Well, the registration's the same. Our delivery mechanism has to change because we have to have this all online. we have to do all these videos, which we do a lot on our face-to-face class, but not to this extent. The logistics of it are, you're not having to get in your